Good morning everyone. I'd like to call the meeting to order. We very much appreciate all of you coming this morning. We have some interesting discussions to pursue, and we're going to start with Lucy Bagwell, who will give the invocation.
Let's pray. Precious Lord Jesus, we praise and thank you for your strong leading and protections daily as we look forward to our next half year at LVE. We pray as elected officials here, you're leading as we offer our lives in service for all who live and work here. Forgive us our shortcomings daily. Bless Sam, Karen, and his family as we welcome them in their new lives with us. We remember the lives of Mrs. Hunter and Mr. Inkerman. And thank you, as is found in Isaiah 54:17. We pray that no weapon formed against us shall prosper. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Lucy. I would like to reiterate the remembrance for Martha Hunter and Jack Inkerman, both of whom died yesterday. And we'll miss them. They were wonderful people, and sorry they're gone. I'd like to confirm our quorum. Madam Secretary, can you do that?
Mr. President, we have a quorum.
All right. The next is the minutes of June 13th, our last meeting. I call for approval. If you would indicate by saying something or putting your hand up, but all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? They are passed. We now turn to the Treasurer's financial report. Marie?
Good morning. We began the month with $93,736. We had income from the memorial leaf of $100, employee appreciation fund $3,050, interest income $159. We spent for postage $13, a large print book $626. As far as large print books goes, if anyone would like to contribute to that fund, you can make your check out for any amount, put it in the box where you put your rent. And the last expense is $27 for engraving of the leaves, leaving us a balance of $96,377. Are there any questions? Well, have a good day, everybody.
Thank you, Marie. We now have our new executive directors make some announcements.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. First, want to start by saying I can't believe it's almost the end of my third week already. It's been a wonderful experience. I'm so thankful for the team, Tammy, the other leadership team members, Steve Eggles, our regional vice president, for holding down the fort after Pam's last day and my first day. It's a really well-run operation with the great residents and team. A couple of announcements from culinary. As you know, Ray Sweat, his last day was on July 3rd. Since then, Daryl has been holding down the fort while Chad has been on a long-planned vacation to Ireland and some other areas. He'll be back. He should be back Monday of next week. but things seem to be going well. The regional culinary director, Dave, and I have had 3 in-person interviews for the director's position, and we look at applicants daily. Surprisingly, we're not getting a ton of great applicants, but we're looking at them daily and making sure that we're not rushing into a decision. We want the best person for this community. The main kitchen had a surprise Department of Health inspection yesterday and scored a 96, which is a very good score out of 100, so very well done there. Spectrum, one of our favorite words, next to soon. As of midday yesterday, Jeremiah shared that Spectrum is approximately 50% done with the project. We know there continue to be challenges, so share with your other fellow residents that if there are challenges, to reach out to Julia, and she will have Jeremiah or that other Evan come by and get that fixed. It seems like they've been making good progress when they're aware of challenges. We're hoping for an early next week completion, so we'll see how that goes. Spirituality-wise, Chaplain Duke will be out of the office next week. He will be in Columbia, South Carolina for his orientation endorsement requirements with his denomination. He will be available during the conference for any emergencies, and if he needed to make a call, he can do that at break times, etc. Security and Transportation, Aaron, our director over Security and Transportation, will be off-site the next 2 weeks for his required Army Reserve training. During his time absent, lead security guard Joe will be the main contact. We are starting up, again, a new resident mixer, we're calling it. So any new resident who had moved into the community from January 1st until now will be invited to join a group of us leadership team members on July 24th for an opportunity to meet each other a little bit more and the leadership team. So we're going to be starting that likely every 6 months. Tammy and I will be hosting Ginny Helms. She's the CEO of Leading Age Georgia. Are you all familiar with what Leading Age does? Represents CCRCs throughout the country, etc. Well, Leading Age Georgia. So Ginny will be coming on campus July 29th. Prior to coming here, I was very involved with Leading Age Florida. I was on their board for the last 3 years and plan to get involved with Leading Age Georgia as well to make sure that they fully understand, the legislators that is, understand the impact their decisions have on our residents and our team members. So I'll be getting involved with Leading Age Georgia as well. 2025 community visit and budget. The budget process is well on its way already for next year. On August 7th, members of the corporate team will be visiting our community, doing a walkabout just to look at future capital projects, things we want to show them. And then on August 8th, we'll be having a budget meeting with the finance team. That'll be via Teams, but on 7th, there'll be several members here in person. So myself and several of the team members will be walking the community with them and showing them areas that we feel we need to get a little more, a piece of the pie, a little more of the pie to help us get to where we need to be, which we are in a great place as it is. And then lastly, I have COVID. There is an uptick in cases locally and a few more in our community as well. So if you're not feeling well, please also encourage other residents, if they're not feeling well, to let the wellness office know so that we can make have appropriate discussions, and hopefully those folks will stay in their apartments until they are feeling well, and if they're COVID positive, obviously do what we need to do. Any particular questions right now? Otherwise, you know how to get a hold of me via email, and I've gotten a lot of emails, most of them really good, but I like to get answers back as promptly as possible. Anybody have anything else? Thank you all.
Well, thank you, Scott. I would like to personally welcome you to LVE, and I also look forward to working with you in the years ahead. Thank you for your open and friendly manner. As you know, the Resident Association Board Executive Committee has been working with retired treasurers' executives to determine how the two organizations could best work together. Our next meeting will take place on July 19th. I'm sorry for the delay, but that's due to travel schedules and so forth. Our working relationship has been excellent, with no stress or conflict, but with our common goal to unite, not divide, efforts to benefit the rights and prerogatives of all residents at LVE. We have given Augie and his team a list of subjects to be resolved on July 19th. And our plan is to create a draft revision of each of the 2 sets of bylaws, which, after agreement by the respective parties, will be presented to the 2 boards for their approval. So this thing is moving ahead, and there is no conflict, and we hope to have it resolved by the end of the month. Are there any questions? If not, we'll turn to old business. Is there any old business? Any new business? We now have 6 board committee reports. 2 have no reports, so we'll do with the 6 that we have. Culinary is Judy Lee, my neighbor, our neighbor.
Good morning. This is the report of the Culinary Committee from July 3rd, and I want to mention that Scott was with us, and we really appreciate him coming and participating in our meeting. We had 2 events in June that were very well attended. We had June 16th, we had Father's Day, which was a delicious meal, and we had 300 residents and guests for that. And then June 24th, we had the picnic themed dinner that night and fed 300 residents. And July 4th, we'll have a report on next month. We were asked to put in the link, and I hope you've seen it. We wanted to bring to residents' attention that we have new items in the bistro to try, and hopefully you've seen that link and come down and tried some of those. As soon as we get through with menu adjustments in the bistro, we're going to move on to reservations and Sydney's. And then Aaron Bundy has requested that we place a fallen soldier table on display in the bistro from October 25th to November 11th. That's the time period when poppies are traditionally worn prior to Veterans Day on November 11th. We're losing 2 servers to the nursing fields, but that's good. One of them is staying here. And overall, our server numbers remain very good. We still need 2 more cooks, and they were interviewing 3 applicants. We haven't heard the results of that yet. We had a suggestion that since Lanier Tech has a culinary program, that a job fair be held there, and even consideration be given to hiring interns from that program. Some of the culinary sanitation workers we're working with to cross-train for prep and other kitchen tasks. We had some concerns, 3 concerns expressed by the committee, and we wanted to talk about those. The first one was in the reservations area. The servers asked for orders right away, and residents want to sit and visit. And then another one was sometimes the appetizer and the entree arrive too closely together. And then third, some residents expressed that they prefer to stay in that area past 7 p.m. So after discussion, we think that a couple of these are training issues, and we can reinforce those with the servers. But we would ask that you please keep in mind that the kitchen is on a schedule. So we would suggest that you put your order in and then visit. And that way they can get started preparing your meal. And while you may want to remain briefly past 7 p.m., keep in mind that most of our servers are high school age kids, and they have other responsibilities and interests that they want to pursue, and they still have to clean your table and reset it for the next day. So the longer you stay, the longer they have to stay. In June, we only received 47 comment cards, and we hope that's a good sign that people are generally satisfied with culinary. A copy of that report, as you know, is attached to the minutes when Virginia sends out the board minutes. So you can read the full report. We had 9 requests for additional foods, 2 of which we already have available. That's the skim milk and moose track ice cream. The dining rooms are too cold. Well, we hear that every month. The temperatures are routinely checked by maintenance and are where they're supposed to be. So if you're one that's particularly cold in those areas, you might want to consider bringing a sweater or a jacket if you know it's going to be cool. But maintenance is checking them. And then if any district representatives are here and you're planning floor parties in the veranda room through the end of the year, please send an email to Chad Whitehead so he can let you know if the room is available on the date you want. And finally, just a reminder that our next meeting is August 7th at 10 a.m. in the Lanier Room, and you're all welcome to attend. We've had a lot of guests come and sit in the meeting, make suggestions, and we appreciate all of those. So please come if you can. Thanks. Any questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Judy. The next report is housekeeping from Betty Mansfield.
Well, I think everybody heard me last week say that what happened is I was on the housekeeping committee last year, and the next thing I knew this year, I was the chairperson of the housekeeping committee. So be careful what you walk into, but I have enjoyed it. I've enjoyed learning more and more about the operation of this place. We had a very short meeting, so my report is short. Shanda reported that staffing is good. We still have 2 temporaries that they have hired from temporary company. Those 2 vacancies they're looking to fill permanently, but so far have not found the appropriate persons. We had quite a discussion about the housekeeping in the individual residences. There seems to have been a lot of confusion, so I went back and pulled the resident handbook, and I read about housekeeping, and I found out what the problem was. In the resident handbook, it says that housekeeping can be anywhere from 20 minutes to 50 minutes. Well, a lot of people wanted 50 minutes. We don't have enough time in the day to give everybody 50 minutes. So Shanda said that they are going to correct that in the handbook. And I think that you all know, we're not at the Waldorf Astoria, and we don't have somebody coming in every day and cleaning our apartment or our cottage. But there is an expectation, I think a great expectation of this group that comes every week to completely clean every inch of your residence. That is impossible. We all used to dust, when we could, we all used to vacuum. We can't do a lot of that now, but we can do some things. And if they do the kitchen and they do the bathroom, I think that is and they do the vacuuming, that's huge. And so I just think we're going to have to, especially with new people coming in, because they're not getting a handbook. They don't have those handbooks put together yet, the new handbooks. And so they're not getting a handbook. And so we may have to help them understand about how the housekeeping works. And I appreciate your your help in understanding and having that clarified. So I do think it was a mistake to put that expectation of 50 minutes in the handbook. I don't have too much more. We do have new products that they're using. I think one of the reasons is they wanted something that had a deodorizer in it, especially for some of the areas that might get wet when people track in, you know, at the entrances. So you might notice that they are using some different products, but they are pleased with them, and I think they're working well. You're always invited to our meeting. We have fun. I'm thinking about having refreshments, so if I serve donuts, will y'all come to the meeting? We want your input. We want you to be on the committee if you're interested in learning more about it or just visiting. Are there any questions about housekeeping? As I said, we had, yes.
The product, I guess, is what they started to use, but it's very sticky on the floor.
On the floor?
Yeah.
Okay.
In the bathroom, and I have carpeting, but in the bathroom and the kitchen, my feet stick as I walk.
Okay, and so I will report that to Lupe and Manuel. I know Manuel is and Lupe, they're both very open to hearing from residents. They want to know, you know, they can't be with us all the time, so they want to know our experiences too. Any more questions? All right, our next meeting is August 13th, and I hope to see a lot of you there visiting, and we might have donuts. Thank you.
Thank you, Betty. That was excellent. Our next report is landscaping, Carol Ann Armstrong.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I've been standing up here the last 2 months bragging about how beautiful the campus looked. But alas, the 90-degree temperatures and the irrigation failure has changed all that. And the focus of our meeting was basically on the problems with irrigation. We can't control the temperatures. And obviously we can't control the irrigation because the East cottages have really never had satisfactory irrigation. And the rest of the campus, now the West cottages did have irrigation, but the rest of the campus didn't have irrigation during these high temperatures. And we have lost a number of shrubs. But let me reassure you, we are working on that. New Leaf and Stephen, and I've been on the landscape committee for a number of years, and irrigation has always been a problem. And it's an old system. We don't have any diagrams about where things are, and they are trying. And I noticed yesterday afternoon my stepping stones were wet briefly, so I know they are trying. On a positive note, the memory garden still looks good because we have a faucet there and volunteers have watered. Stephen has gotten an estimate for the path improvement, but there is no funding at this time. The train garden also looks lovely because there's a hose there, but there's still repairs that need to be made. And the bistro garden has a lovely bell sculpture that was donated by Peggy Gracie, and it's a lovely addition to the garden. The lawn will be worked on in the fall. It was going to be worked on, and then of course it's been so hot. But it will be sanded and redone in the fall. And Stephen hopes to install different croquet courses so the wickets can be removed easily for mowing. Are there any questions? Yes.
Carolyn, you say problem. I don't know. All right. You say problems. Can you identify what the problems are? I mean, I appreciate the nice statement that was in LVE. It told me nothing. I'll tell you, the East has, the residents there have put thousands of dollars, their personal dollars, into beautification. Now, what's happening now, I and everybody else is standing out there with a water hose, which you don't mind to do, but that's not right. And when people say, well, that's my lawn. No, it ain't your lawn. It's LVE's lawn. So I got to tell you, I don't understand why we have problems. What problems? We don't have the maintenance people. The valves don't work. We can't get the valves. We don't have enough people. All the above.
Well, one of the problems in the past month, there was a problem with a pump, but that was fixed. But we still had problems. And I don't have any answers.
Okay.
Everyone is upset and concerned, including New Leaf and Stephen. They are very frustrated also.
Well, there are such things as contracts, and there are requirements in contracts. What is the requirement for New Leaf as far repairing and maintaining that system? How many days can it be down before they get a levy against the money that we're going to pay them? I mean, this is simple when you start making contractors take money out of their pocket because they are not doing their job. So I don't know. I'm just telling you, and I know I'm not trying to shoot you. I'm going around you there, but
I'm just the messenger.
I know, but you feel my frustration.
Oh, I understand that the cottages it has never worked properly. And I heard that original system was designed for city water. And so they bought a new filter last year. Stephen has been very proactive in trying to get the irrigation to work.
Well, can I just go one step further with you? Is the irrigation problem for the Carriage Homes East associated with using pond water? Or is it associated with the city water? Do you know?
Well, my understanding, now this may not be accurate, was that the original system was designed for city water, and that's why the valves clogged up so badly.
Right. No,
when it
you're
first,
exactly correct.
And so Lanier Village bought this extra filter that was supposed to correct the problem.
Yep.
And it was installed. And Stephen tried last spring to replace some valves and get that working, but.
Okay, I appreciate it. I know you got a tough job, and I'm glad you had it and I don't.
Well, it's hard to walk down the hall without being stopped. But we had not had problems in the east and the west before with this, but I've lost a Daphne in my yard.
Yeah.
And I've been watering with gallon jugs because we have no faucets.
Yeah.
And at least you can drag the hose.
And we do.
Carol Ann, before you move on, it's a huge concern of mine. I don't know the history, but I'm learning more every day, unfortunately, about how much of a challenge it's been. And I don't plan on stopping getting this fixed until it's right now. What right means might be a different definition for all of us, but better than it is now and sustainable. It's just unacceptable what's going on. So Stephen, we have gotten a commitment from New Leaf that they've told us they will have their irrigation specialist. I don't know how special this person is or how great they are, here daily to work on that. And we're exploring other irrigation companies around just to help with the irrigation, not necessarily the landscaping, just to try to help us to come look at it and get their input on ideas on what we can or can't do. But huge challenge that I've gone above me as well and made them aware too. So it's going to continue to be a huge focus.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Carol Ann, thank you very much. That was an interesting discussion, and I'm glad that people speak up. If you have a question or you want to make a comment, please speak up. We have microphones, including a roving microphone, so please feel free to talk.
Can I say one more thing?
Sure.
When I was a brigade commander, we had meetings like this, and I started shooting the messengers. So I asked the sergeant majors, I said, why aren't you talking? Why am I not getting any answers here? He said, sir, if you'll stop firing the warning shots through the heart, we'll talk to you.
All right, the next committee report is life engagement with Karen Harden.
Good morning. We have a lot of great things coming up. I hope you all saw the list. We really do. The committees, Judy and the trips and Vicki and Sue, everybody's working really hard. Mary Bob, she's in Switzerland, but got all this done before she left. And so, interesting, they're on trips, they're doing a couple things that are indoor, like putt-putt indoor, which I didn't realize they even have that, or pickleball indoor, and several wine tastings, and we've got some great bands and shows coming, and we've had some really nice things, so that's really it. Everybody's just working really hard, and hopefully y'all are enjoying everything. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. And maintenance and safety, Herb Paul.
The Maintenance Safety Committee did not meet this month, but I have talked with Stephen on 2 different occasions to update my list. I don't think I need to talk about irrigation, but wanted to bring up the one about the spraying of the overhead parking areas. You recall that in May, we did an in-house spraying in east on the 4th and 5th row. After that took place, they decided that they were going to do the spraying by a contractor, the paint contractor. The 6th and 7th row should be sprayed next week. You should get a notice in the link about removing your cars, because it's important that the cars get removed, not only for the people spraying, but for the cars themselves. So I would encourage you to look in the link, and when they're ready to do that, that you remove your car so that they can do both the overhead and the pavement. Because if they don't do the pavement, then all of that gravel and so forth that's built up over time is there, and it could be a slipping hazard. You'll recall that many months ago, we talked about the mutant in the window, between the window panes, was slipping down and at an angle, and there were 16 of the apartments that reported a problem. The repair needs to be take out the old unit and put in a new one. They are now in the process of building the new units and are about 60 or 70% completed. As soon as they get completed with building that, then they will put in the link a notice about how they're going to go ahead and do the repair. So the old unit comes out, the new unit goes in, and everything will be solved. That probably will take place in about a week or two. The next item is the dryer vent. You'll recall that we have been working on getting the dryer vent work done by an in-house workforce. And what they're going to do is one floor a month and go down starting in east and starting on the 6th floor and then 6th, 5th, 4th, and on down. The team is together, they are ready to go, and this should take place in about a week to 2 weeks from now. The other item I'd like to bring up is there has been a lot of conversation about speeding on the road going to the Mount Vernon exit. And although I'm not a big speed bump guy, I think that's the only thing left to solve that problem. And Stephen is ordering the speed bumps. They should be here next week, and then they'll be installed. So there will be speed bumps on that road. The last item I'd like to bring up is, you'll recall that we had an alarm went off in West. Fire alarm went off there in April. Since that time, there has been a lot of discussion about the fire drills and how we do them and what we do and when we do them. And Stephen and corporate have been working together to update the plan. Stephen thinks that within another week or two that the plan will be approved, and we can then get back into actually doing an exercise or a drill to make sure that everybody understands what we do, where they go, where they don't go, and what happens if they have mobility problems. So that should take place in about 2 to 3 weeks from now. Are there any questions? Yes.
Herb, on the 6th floor, the air conditioning has been out for months in the common area, and I've talked to Steve about it. I don't know if you're aware of the situation at all, but over 2 weeks ago, he told me that the following Monday, he thought that they would be installing it. As a problem because it's on the top of the building and they needed to do some more work. Well, I've been told by him that they bought some other units to put up there, that it's expensive for the lift. So that hasn't happened. And my question is it possible that this lift is being driven from Pennsylvania down here? And that is the reason for the slow time.
I hope the answer to that is no. But there has been a problem getting the lift. And the last time I discussed this with Stephen, he said that the lift should be here next week. Now, I've heard that before, so I'm a little bit hesitant.
I've heard that same comment.
Yeah, but that is the big problem.
Thank you so much.
I have a question about the billiards room. We've had problems with ventilation in there since Christmas. We froze during the wintertime. Spring was okay. Now we are burning up. Even at 9:30 in the morning, it's a little difficult sometimes to breathe when you're trying to play. If we leave the door open or prop it open, we have problems with noise and people coming through the hall. And so that sort of causes us a problem with concentration, which we cannot afford that kind of a problem.
Okay.
So from what I understand, the control for the billiards room is in a strange place back beyond the arts and crafts room. That's what I've been told. They actually took the thermostat out of the billiards room about 3 years ago. I never understood why, but they did that. And so we have no control. I have made 4 referrals to have some kind of air flowing in there since Christmas, and I have still not seen any kind of result.
Okay, I'll have to get with him on that. Anything else? Thank you.
Thank you, Herb. The last of the board committee reports is memorials from ASSN Johnson.
Good morning. The chapel garden, and you know the chapel garden is right out here outside of the auditorium and the chapel. And we've been working on that, 2 committees, for well over a year, almost 2. But the project is getting a lot of attention now and activity. 2 weeks ago tomorrow, we met with, I guess it was Augie, Scott, Stephen Anderson, and I met with the architect and talked about the final plans. And I had given out the final plans a couple of months ago to everyone. And so we went out to the garden and looked at actually where it's going to be situated. It's going to be really great. It's going to take her about 5 weeks to come up with the actual thing to go out to bids. We have to have 3 bids for someone to do the garden part. The covered pavilion has been enlarged to 24 feet by 40 feet. And that's quite a nice, large covered pavilion. And that will be available to Willbrook Court OBT. They can get to it very easily. Also, anybody in the chapel, the memorials that we have in the chapel, all of those things, it's going to be so nice for that. And then just the general residents. Small groups can get together out there. It's going to be nice. We'll have fans, lighting. We're all really just getting excited about it. So, Stephen, and it was decided when we were looking at the fountain that's out there now, we're taking it out. It is leaking badly. If any of you have been out there walking around, you can see it's just water. So he is disassembling that and getting ready for the new fountain. And then the gazebo is in bad repair. So he's also taking that down. So we're just getting prepared for that. A lot of the trees will have to come down because they're too close to the building and their roots are getting into the building foundation. So don't be alarmed about that, but it's a necessity. Any questions about that? Hopefully it'll be going out for bids in about 3 weeks. So we're going to be getting some action soon. At our last Memorial Committee meeting, we discussed the Grove of Remembrance and want to remind everyone that when you put in a request for a leaf, it's going to take a month or more by the time we gather several of them and send them up to be engraved and get them back, and they're on the Grove. So it's going to be several weeks. Don't expect to have it up there right away. But as of today, we have 76 leaves on our Grove. Also, it was brought up that if you would like to be sure that a leaf gets on the grove after you pass, that the best thing to do is to tell your family about our grove, or also attach a request to your will. So those are two ways people have asked about that. We have decided to start offering a smaller memorial bench. The ones we have, like at the entrance, and the ones that were replaced the past year were quite large. So the smaller two-seater ones are going to be available. They'll be a little cheaper, and then they can go on the pads that are already there where the wooden benches are. We're trying to replace wooden benches. A lot of them are in disrepair, and we had decided no more wooden benches because of the upkeep. So slowly those are going to be replaced as people request them. Right now I think we have 3 benches requested, and we need to have at least 5 before we can order them and get transportation here. That's a problem. So that's always a slow process. The next thing I have is a request for volunteers. As Carol Ann mentioned, we have wonderful volunteers that go out and water, plant, do all that in the memory lane gardens. And the volunteers have requested that I read this report for you. The memory gardens developed in 2006 by residents who funded the design and plants in the garden. The gardens are located behind the main building on the north side of the West Apartments. They have expanded over time from Fraser Garden in the east to Memory Garden to Butterfly Garden in the west. So now we call them Memory Lane Gardens. Over the years, more than 180 individuals and groups have been honored or memorialized by financial donations for plants in the gardens. Folkley Landscaping did weeding, trimmed areas, and maintained the fountain until about 5 years ago. Since Folkley left, some confusion over whether the memory gardens were covered by the landscape contract occurred. After some neglect, residents, volunteers took over complete control of the gardens, and I think they even work on the fountain, cleaning out the fountain almost daily. Resident contributors, including resident contributions include pruning small trees and shrubs, and the removal of aggressive plants, weeding, a lot of weeding, clearing the fountain, and the addition of 175 new plants, and that year nearly comes up to 300 plants this year. That's a lot. It should be noted that adding plants is important because it is not something covered by our landscape contract. Cost of plants, seeds, fertilizer, all of that comes through on the project that we have. The special projects grant was given at one time, and that has been used up. So the rest of it is through the Memorial Lane Garden Fund. And we've talked about that in the past. We have forms in all of our mail rooms and in our communication room. They look like this. And if you want to honor someone or give someone money in memory of someone, I know Ted and I give, in memory of some really close friends, and $25. And then a card is sent to that person saying that a gift to that fund has been given in their memory or in their honor. So it's really quite a nice thing to do, and the committee is asking that you think about that. The Memory Lane Garden Fund is asking residents to contribute to the fund of flowers, trees, fertilizer, etc., and all that is needed to keep the gardens looking so lovely. If the day comes when resident volunteers can no longer maintain the garden, this fund will even be more important in keeping the garden going. As I said, at the end of their request, they talked about the cards that you can find. Now, they have also put this in the minutes, so I didn't read it very well, but you can read it again in the minutes. Any questions? Thanks.
Thank you, Aston. That completes the Resident Association Board committees. There are 8 of them, and we had 6 reports. 2 did not have a report. So we're now going to turn to administrative committees. These are committees under the control and management of the staff of LVE. And so first one and the only one is Samaritan Fund with David Lee.
Good morning, and thank you for the opportunity to give you a brief update on what the Samaritan Fund Committee has been doing. First, on behalf of the committee members, I'm pleased to share with you that Scott, in his role as Executive Vice President, has assumed the administrative oversight of the fund. Jimmy Faulkner and I, Jimmy as co-chair, and I met with Scott earlier this week, excuse me, and gave him an overview of what the committee has functioned, of what functions we have carried out so far year to date, and to discuss with him a number of functions or events that we have on the drawing board that should help us meet our primary responsibility, not only to educate the community on the fund, but also to promote it and, of course, to raise funds. We appreciate your continuous support, and thank you for this time.
Thank you, David. Return to the all-important Employee Appreciation Fund with Jess Treadway.
It's hard to believe. Half of 2024 is gone. As I look at the donations to the Employee Appreciation Fund, we're at 39% of what we'd like to be. We have asked that residents average $200 per person. We have just over 600 residents here, so 600 times 200 gives you $120,000, which is our goal. The very good news is that the average donation to date by 180 residents is $260 per person. So we've had maybe the big givers come early in the year. But in the last half of the year is when we've got to make up. Last year at this time, instead of $47,000, which we've raised this year, we had $67,000. So we're a bit behind on that, while our average is up quite well. I'd like to ask the district reps, when they have a meeting of their groups, that they remind them to give to the Employee Appreciation Fund. You know, we have a lot of excellent employees here, and I was just thinking today, I said, you know, every time I go to eat either upstairs or downstairs, the culinary staff greets me with a smile and a real helping attitude. And that just kind of lifts my day when I see that. And I think these folks really do deserve our gifts at Christmas time. And so I encourage all of those who have not given to give. I did have a resident early in the year said, when I give, I don't want you to send me another letter asking me to give again. You know how many charities, you give a gift, they send you a thank you note, but at the bottom it says, send more. So I said, we won't do that. We won't send you a letter, but I will ask you verbally if you will contribute. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Chess. That's very important. We're now open for district reps' comments and visitors' comments. And Ken Brown, I know, had something to say.
Yeah, I have a couple items I wanted to cover. One ties on with what we were talking about earlier in terms of the east and west irrigation issues. I was pleased to read yesterday of a property management item in our live LVE link from Stephen, which basically was very, very encouraging. He said that he wanted to let everyone know that starting yesterday, there will be a crew on the property for the foreseeable future to correct the issues we have had with the irrigation system. He said there have been several unpredictable problems that have occurred that have had an impact on the ability of the system to run efficiently or sometimes at all. And he wanted to have you all understand that they are going to focus hard to resolve some of those problems. Clearly, in the west area, we've had our share of problems. They're entirely different than what they're having in the east, but we've still got them. So anyways, I'm pleased to see that there is some additional activity that's taken place even as early as this morning. Secondly, there is some good news about the warehouse facility. Many of you know that under construction for the past 2 years on Thompson Bridge Road, behind the West Homes, has been the building of an exceptional storage facility. The name of that is now on the board up there. It is the Smart Move Storage. The owner, some of you know is Dustin Barrett. Some of you may have met Dustin. He has spoken to groups before, and he is often there. And as of next week, they will be accepting people to come and open up the facility and put your equipment there. If you want to move it from up the road a piece or in your local area here, it is a very, very first-class operation. It will be something that we'll be pleased that we can take advantage of. I will be personally very pleased because there won't be any noise going on in my backyard for a little while anyway. So please thank Jack, who brought so much information down from up high to see us at how the process was going. It is done, and say thank you to Dustin if you do have a chance to see him. So that's all for today.
Guy, did you have something? All right.
Okay, I put out on your desk a associating board member, and it's got some nice, not check marks, but where I put yellow marks, and that is your committee to provide the nomination to this board for replacements for next year. As chairman, we have to have that done by the 1st of February. Progress is slim to none. Okay, I tell you what worries me the most about this is I don't understand why people don't want to serve in the leadership positions on this board. I'm going to tell you, where the work occurs is right over here. It's not right here. These are the people that are making it happen here. So if you're worried about working up here more and having all this extra time you've got to spend, forget about it, other than Virginia Chandler and our treasurer. They have serious work that has to get done every day, more or less here. So replacing them is a difficult task. So I ask that the resident representatives please go back and poll your floors and see if you can't ferret out some people that would like to serve. If you have any question about what the responsibilities are, that's all in your handbook. If they don't have a handbook, I can reproduce the 3 pages that outline their responsibilities. So I need your help. If we don't want a board, we're demonstrating it. So I don't think that's the case. I'm not sure that people really know what's going on. Do I need to send out some kind of notice that we're asking for people? How about it? What you think, George?
Yeah, I agree with you. Is there any particular, are there any particular positions?
Well, here's the way I want to approach this. Yes, some people have said they want to continue, okay? But I want to identify people that want to serve, because what the charge is to me and the board and the committee is to present the best candidate. So you can't have the best candidate necessarily if it's a candidate of one, okay? I just really think we need to try to get more people involved in this and get them going. So yes, there are some positions that we can discount, but I don't want to do that because there's some provisions.
Well, the reason I bring that up is that if you just use your idea of just, I want to serve, some folks will not want to serve because they don't want Marie or Virginia's job.
Oh, yeah, I know about that. Listen, we have canvassed, just so you know, we spent a lot of nug-in work here. Annette Phoebish has done a great job in going through potential female residents who could be members of the board and trying to convince some very important people, but they don't want to do it for various reasons. I understand that, but somebody's got to do it. Thanks, George. Anybody else? So am I going to get some help from the floor leaders here? So what I'm expecting, so this is July the 11th. How about the end of July, the first week of August? I get some report from you and we will canvass you to see where you stand in identifying any position that's on this list of people who want to serve. Now, in Virginia's situation, we will bring them up to date. If they want to do that, she and others will show them exactly what has to get done. In case of Marie, I think there's some idea that you have to be a CPA. That's not the case, right, Marie? You are a CPA, but I'm just saying, what's your thought about the requirement for a person to fill that position?
Number one is you have to love math because it's all about math. And if you don't love math, just say, sorry, it's not for me. But if anyone would want to take over my position, I would be happy to show you all the spreadsheets and let you know what I have to do.
She has served on the board for 6 years plus?
8 years.
8 years? Okay, so she's gone above and beyond ×4, okay? Virginia, how long you been on the board?
Is this on? I've been on the board 2 years. I've been here not quite 3. I was an early catch. So, but I'm also a CPA. However, that's not required for this position. I learned more about technology and software than I ever thought I would. But I highly encourage our residents to volunteer, because this is a fabulous way to get to know your fellow residents, the community, and how things work. So it's a delight, and I encourage you to volunteer. I'll be happy to help anyone who would like to. Thank you.
Chaz, what about your position? How many sleepless nights do you have?
Well, I tell you, I worry about the Employee Appreciation Fund every night. No, that's not true. That is the main function of the Vice President, is to handle the Employee Appreciation Fund most times. Now, there could be a time when he has to fill in for the President. But that has been pretty rare at this level of people on the board. They've been very, very healthy, and so there hadn't been much need for somebody to fill in.
Okay, thank you. Ed, you want to give us how many days and hours you spent on this? I know you spent some.
Well, it's a lot of time, and it's very rewarding, and I have told Annette that I would be willing to continue next year, and I think Chess has said the same thing. So those positions are available, but they're filled at this point in time. But anyway, it's been a pleasure to do it, and I look forward to another year.
Okay, and then my position needs to be filled, which is Representative at Large. It has 2 lines. Whatever they want me to do, I have to do. Otherwise, it's open, okay? So there are some special requirements for the Representative at Large, and I'd ask you to refer to the book. They have to be a representative, a district representative, have served as a district representative, currently or in the future. Okay, I'm ready to sweeten the pot. I am a Georgia Tech fan. I have 4 season tickets. They're on the 30-yard line, 18 rows up from the field. And I'm up for giving up 2 seats for one game and 2 seats for the next game. And I'll even throw in a pecan pie. So thank you very much for your time. We got some work to do.
Thank you, Guy. Is there any other discussion? Anybody want to say something? I would just like to say that I really appreciate all the volunteers that make this happen. It's been wonderful to work with you. I especially appreciate Virginia, who's dedicated for a couple of years, and Lila, who's our revolving microphone. The next meeting will be August 8th, 2024 at 9:30 a.m. I hope you will all plan to attend. If there's nothing else, we are adjourned.